All right. Well, this is Raven Dana. Welcome, journeying between the worlds today. This is class 4. And hey, how's your year going? I mean, the first question I have for you is, how is that alignment coming? We talked about how to create that alignment between what you think, how you feel, what you do, who you imagine yourself to be, right? Um, if those things don't resonate together, if they are not harmonic, if they're discordant, if something's off, then it makes it difficult to create what you say you want because there's some energy that's pulling you back or pulling you under or pulling you down. So the question is, for today's question is, what might you need to shift to get your alignment in sync? How can you shift that alignment to build the energy that creates reality? And again, those things are what we think, what we feel, what we do, right? What we act on, and who we believe ourselves to be, who we are. So a place to look is your shadow side. And unlike unlike most ways of working with shadow, I like to include and incorporate the part of our shadow selves that are the hidden treasures, the hidden gems. So, for the most part, when we do shadow work, people focus on the disowned, denied parts of themselves. So, if there's something about you that you don't want people to know or that you don't like about yourself, it gets swept under the rug as part of the shadow. Maybe you get angry quickly and you don't like that, or you think you shouldn't, or whatever that story is. But shadow work really is the practice of exploring and integrating the unconscious self, the hidden repressed parts of your personality, including the negative traits, but not exclusively. And I wouldn't even call them negative. It's mostly the traits that we interpret as undesirable, right? But also our undeveloped creativity falls in those categories. We stop and we deny ourselves acts of creativity because we make up stories about that. Oh, I'm not good at art. Oh, I'm not good at writing. Oh, I can't do that. Oh, I can't do this. Or I'm a grown up, so I don't sit with a coloring book anymore. Um, but here's the thing. When we look at all of that stuff, when we actually pull it up and explore it, we can achieve greater
Bye-bye.
self-awareness. Hello, we can achieve greater self-awareness and our authenticity increases. So the more authentic we are, the more the energy moves. The more authentic we are, the more again alignment, harmonic resonance we have among all of those energies we put forth in our thoughts, in our words, in our actions, and in who we imagine ourselves to be. So if we're not struggling to make ourselves be a certain way, to look a certain way. If we are more authentic, then our energy builds, then our energy is much stronger. And as Jung said, as you make the unconscious conscious, it will direct your life and you will call it fate. So you can think of those little things, think of those moments where you might have a repeating experience and you call something fate that maybe is just a product of something you're doing or not doing, an effort that's being made way deep down at the shadow level, right? So we've thrown around the word architecture, being an architect, but shadow work is really archaeology, right? Shadow work is looking at the artifacts and digging into what's hidden below the surface to reveal what we hide from ourselves, our own structure, parts of our foundation that we don't really acknowledge, and that definitely influence and impact the way we live and the results that we have in our lives. So, for an example, we might dig down to discover that we hide our anger, right? We might know we hide our anger. We might discover that we were taught, if we look at that, well, how do I do that? What does that mean to me? We might discover that we are living out a belief that being angry is unacceptable for women, or because we're supposed to be quote unquote self-regulated, we shouldn't get angry. That's all bullshit. So if you have a trait like that and you're suppressing, repressing, denying, hiding, making it bad and wrong, the question you want to ask yourself is, how is this useful to me? So anger, for example, anger is a very useful tool. It is designed to protect us. It is a stop sign. So we can use our anger and welcome our anger, and it doesn't have to take over the show. And that takes practice. If you're accustomed to denying and repressing something, when you take the lid off, it wants to run out. It wants to come out and say, hey, I'm here. So also the conversation about self-regulation. I mean, people have the false idea that self-regulation is about always being calm, that being self-regulated. Well, when there's water boiling in the teapot, it shoots out as a whistling steam. And you know what? That, my friends, is also self-regulation. Sometimes you just got to yell because you got to let the steam off, literally. Because if you don't do that, right, you have it's like if you pop the top of the pressure cooker without letting the steam off first, now you have food on the ceiling and all over you, and it's not good, right? So just be aware that anything you might try to hide and that you might consider a quote unquote negative has some usefulness, and that is for you to acknowledge and embrace and integrate it back into who you are, because it is part of who you are. Here's an artifact. All right. So that's the distinction between one thing and the other. So, for example, if every time you have a windfall, it's almost immediately followed by a repair that's needed, the car that breaks, the refrigerator that stops working, right? That something happens that takes the extra money that came your way. Now, the repeating event, when it happens over time, is likely harboring some belief that's running the show, right? Oh, I just can't get ahead. It might also reveal old, generational, old sets of beliefs that come from your parents and your grandparents and their grandparents that set the limit for how successful you can be. So that's another part of the shadow self, is exploring those things that appear to be your fate and saying, wait a minute, there's something interfering with the flow of energy here. What can I observe? And very often, bringing those things up into your conscious mind is very often enough to be able going forward to stop and interrupt that process. Sometimes there's more work to be done, but that's not today's class. Today, what I'm telling you is a lot can happen just by making those things conscious and embracing them, taking them in, loving your whole self. Now, so ultimately, shadow work is self-acceptance. It's finding those little bits and pieces of your behavior and yourself and your life that you've swept under the rug that you'd rather not think about. Maybe even things that you've done in the past that you find embarrassing, and pulling them out and just letting yourself own them and love yourself anyway, right? It's like if you have a friend that does something crappy to you, right? That does something crappy. You don't throw away the friendship. You go, hey, you must have been having a rotten day. And they go, yeah, this was going on, that was going on, right? So there's an automatic forgiveness that takes place between us and our friends that we don't extend to ourself. That's a way to think about it. So if you can consider that part of shadow work is becoming more of your own best friend, that's a way to go forward with it that's very useful, right? So ultimately, shadow work is self-acceptance. So to free more energy, and to help with the deep dive that may have us hauling our little dark bits from the basement of our psyche, let's take a look at the creativity shadow, because that is our main thrust of action for today. What calls from the muse do you ignore or deny? And it could, I mean, it could be anything. Just let your mind kind of wander and race for a moment. Think of all the things that pop up when you say, if I were really creative, I would, what is it? Hula dancing, martial arts, portrait painting, singing, playing the piano, writing poetry. Doesn't matter what it is. And it doesn't matter if you're good at it. Doesn't matter if you're talented or if you really suck. It doesn't matter if all you can draw is a stick figure. I'm going to tell you lots of money has been made by people drawing stick figures. I'm just going to say that, right? It doesn't matter. What matters is that creative play is not about how well you do the thing. It's about the joy of doing the thing because joy is an invitation for energy to flow, right? The joy of doing the thing is the important piece of the puzzle here. So, our refrigerators generally are full of kids' artwork, and that artwork isn't going to hang in a museum. And we love it anyway. We love every line of it. We love every bit and every piece of it. And that's the attitude today I want to invite us to adopt towards our creative side and the creativity that we allow to flow through us. Again, doesn't matter a bit whether or not you think you can do the thing. What matters is that you give yourself permission to let the muse flow through you in whatever way it shows up. It can mean putting on music and dancing around your living room. It's fun and the expression is glorious. So think with yourself, sit with yourself. What is one hidden, repressed, ignored, denied creative desire, right? Let that muse call to you. Do that thing for joy. And you know what? Do it in spite of whoever told you not to do it. In fact, maybe that even makes it a little sweeter. And even if that you're the person that told you not to do it, right? Find that class, learn that language, dance that dance, go get some art supplies, or at least a notebook or a coloring book and some, I'd say, upgrade to from crayons to really cool markers. They got them these days, and then use that energy. So here's the thing. Then use that energy from the newly released muse to learn how to lean into your desired life, right? Use that energy that's generated in joy. Apply it like a beautiful lotion to your thoughts and behaviors and emotions and who you consider yourself to be. So it moves you towards that life you say you're creating this year, right? So take the top three desires that you're moving from thoughts to reality for this year and think about how might I apply something creative to that? It could be anything. Paint it, dance it, drum it, sing it, write it. Um, uh, you can do something for different for each one of your desires if you like, or do the same thing for all three. But have fun. Be wild with it. Let the magic flow as the energy you're creating strings together your thoughts, emotions, your actions, and enhances your state of being, opens up how you think of yourself, who you consider yourself to be. Let that gate open. And that other stuff, like the anger or the jealousy or the desire or the forbidden dark bits. Let your creative aspects, the ones that you already have and the ones you're now freeing from the dungeon, have a joyful interaction with them. You can laugh at some of that stuff. You can dance your anger. I like that. I have danced my anger. I have danced my anger so hard I've knocked furniture over, and it's been freeing and joyful and wonderful, right? Sing your judgments. Oh, that son of a bitch. It's hysterical. And it gives the energy a place to move. So you don't hang on to it, you don't hold it, you let the energy flow and be released, right? Drum your stuff to the wind, right? Drum your disappointment, drum all those old stories out into the world as sound and let them dissipate because that's what happens when energy moves, right? It dissipates, it goes off in all directions, and then it can be used to do something else. What a concept, right? So play and accept, embrace and own, allow and create. That's kind of the memo for today. Play and accept, embrace and own, allow and create. So you can even step into a whole other version of yourself if you play this game well, because this is the way or a way to reach a deeper, more open, more authentic version of yourself. So, what if you quit hiding those things? What if you quit suppressing your creativity and quit hiding your little dark bits? Well, you would be a more you, right? And what that means is then things that you wanted to have happen would have much more energy freed up to flow in that direction. And you would find creative ways because they would just come to you to utilize some of the things, like, say, you have maybe one of your hard things that you hide is stubbornness. Well, how can that stubbornness work for you? And maybe even in a playful and creative way, to get what you want to have happen. So it's an inclusive, self-accepting way to gather up and move that energy forward. And so again, I want you to think of that alignment. We'll go back to that alignment. So our thoughts, our emotions, our actions, and who we consider ourselves to be, right? And actually, it's our thoughts, our emotions, what we do, and what we believe ourselves to be. They all resonate together. And think of it, you can think of it like a five-pointed star, right? The energy itself is the fifth point. The energy, the universal, vast, vast ocean of energy in which we live is what all of those other things swim in. So you can consider it a star, right? Those are all points on that star. All right, so that's the little conversation or the big conversation about shadow. So I'm interested if any of you would like to volunteer some thoughts about what it is that or do you want help with something? Do you want to play with one of your dark bits? Do you want to talk about some repressed area of creativity that you're going to dust off and jump into? Like, what do you want to do, and how can I support you to do it? That's the question. Anyone? Anyone?
Wow. Okay.
And it's okay if you got nothing, I'm okay with that. All
Well,
right.
that tells me that we should, I not should. I don't want to should it myself.
Oh, well, there's one. You or shouldn't on yourself. Got it. Okay. It's fine. You might want to just sit with this stuff. It's okay.
Can you hear me?
What came up for me was that I used to always do a lot of creative stuff, and I haven't. So,
Well, that
I
might be
do
the
all
question
kinds
to
of
ask,
things.
right? What story am I running that has stopped me from doing that? Yes, I can hear you. If you right here.
Oh, can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you.
Okay. So my dilemma is pretty much the same as hers. I used to do a lot of creative stuff when I had a really busy job. And now that I, don't have a really busy job, I have a lot more time on my hands. It's like I'm always self-sabotaging myself, like I'll clean the house or, and I'm just really trying to work on that. Little by little, it's getting there, but
Well, again, baby steps are for babies, and I get the little by little, I'm getting there. I would invite you to like rip the Band-Aid off and make a declaration. This time is for me. Put it on your schedule like it's an appointment, right? Not like it's an appointment with the dentist, like it's an appointment with your girlfriend to go for lunch, right? But if you slap that on your schedule, then you know, I got nothing for these 2 hours except what I feel like doing. And at first, you might be uncomfortable, your brain might race, you might try to, maybe you want to go clean the kitchen sink. No, this is your time to be creative. So that is the thing, to create some space. And in that space, say, all right, what creative thing calls to me? What is the muse whispering in my ear? And then do it. It's all about permission. Yeah. I mean,
I
that's
agree.
how I've been painting late at night. I mean, I've always been kind of artsy, but I'm going to tell you, I have never, ever done, attempted, ever the kinds of things that I've been doing. And it's because I do it in the dead of night. I've always been a night owl, and I have stopped trying not to be. I mean, I've always stayed up fairly late, but now I'm staying up to easy till 2:33, 3:30 in the morning because that's my creative time. So instead of doing I'll show you the difference. So in my, okay, I'm creative, it's okay state, I do little things like that, right? In my, I'm in the middle of the night and all bets are off state, I do things with structure, which is very, very different for me. And I would tell you 2 weeks ago, oh, I couldn't draw that. I'm not good at that. I would suck at that. And the thing is, at 2 in the morning, I don't care. All I know is I have a pencil in my hand and the paper and an image, or I'm looking at an image and I'm like, what's my representation of that? And I just put it down. So it doesn't matter if it's good, bad, or otherwise. But the thing is, because it doesn't matter, new things happen and I see things differently. And I started painting light instead of painting shapes. And that's very different for me. So things like that, where you get to play, and open your creativity. And oh, what I did as a result of doing the middle of the night stuff. And this is what I'm inviting you to do, to take some creative something. I don't care what it is. I don't care if you dance it, sing it, write it, so I took the 4 things that I am calling into being this year. Let me find my page. And I just sat here and I drew them with my little pencil, with my little pen. That's it. So one of the things I'm working on, not working on, I'm going to self-correct. One of the things I'm creating this year is to double my income. Now, let me tell you, my income isn't very high, so doubling it shouldn't be a big deal, right? Karen, Karen is my accountant, right? So all I did was, again, one night in the middle of the night, I drew a little picture. See it?
Wow, that's great.
So there's my little picture and my little words. Okay. So that's
Mhm.
a thing. There I am. And there it is already happened. Another thing is I've been moving or attempting to move for a long time. And I'm moving in the spring. I'm moving to a little house in Pennsylvania, and there's my little house.
Oh,
All right.
wow.
Another thing is I'm working on my autobiography. It's like so close to being done, it makes me crazy, and I keep shooting myself in the foot. So okay, so there it is. They're on the table. I'm out at the post office putting books out, right? So those are the kinds of things that, using whatever medium the muse brings to your attention. I didn't
Mhm.
sit down and intend to do this. Oh, and here's the fourth one. So the fourth one is taking off weight. See it?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. So cutting the cords between me and the burden of things that I've been carrying. It's like, oh, yeah, that's what I'm doing. That's how the weight comes off. So, okay, interesting. I want you
Mhm.
to play with your shadow and allow it to help you move the energy forward. Because these things, your creative drive, even those little dark bits that you might have a little problem accepting, they are assets. They are little sparkly things. They are treasures that move the energy forward. Okay. So, archaeology, get your little magic instrument out and dig down, ruffle around in the basement of your psyche, and bring those things up to the first floor. Put those little trinkets in the window, put them in a basket on your table, and let yourself enjoy those other parts of you. And that moves the energy. All right.
That's great advice. And kicking the inner critic out of the room at the
Oh,
time.
yeah, it doesn't matter who,
My
yeah,
biggest problem.
that's right. And that's it, man. That, you hear that voice in your head and you've got to learn to tell it, take a hike, get lost. I don't know. I don't know who taught you to say that. Whoops. But you are not welcome here. Quiet phone. There we go. Yeah. Don't know who taught you that, but it's not a happening thing. All right. Well, I actually had my phone on mute, so that was very interesting to me. All right, any other thoughts, questions, suggestions? I'll listen to whatever you have to say, and then we're going to move on and do a meditation.
You know, Raven, one of the things, because my husband is a professional artist and I do a lot of art, so we each have our own room with our art supplies that I can recommend to everyone,
Yep.
is make space. Make space in your home where it's always out so that you have 5 minutes, you have 10 minutes, you can go play. And even before I came, I was making a baby quilt for my new grandson. And I had to correct a couple things. And I only had the 5 minutes before coming up here and being here, but I got a little bit done. And I always like to say that it's every time you dip into it, you're putting more paint on your brush, so that creativity becomes a little stronger and a little stronger and stronger before, you may walk by that first time and, yeah, I got to do that, but I've got to clean that sink. And then you spend that time there, and then it becomes like, I've got to get in my studio, it becomes
Yeah.
for the soul. And so that's what I have found over the years. But I like all my toys out. I used to have my sewing machine in a closet, and it was a hassle to bring it out, get everything set up, and now it's just out. So it's just one of those things.
Yeah, that's a great point. Thank you for sharing that. And it's true. That's what I had art supplies downstairs, and I finally had carried up my just my little box of watercolor paints. And watercolor is really not my medium, except now it is. And and that's how it started. I just put it on my desk, and now I have one of those plastic bins with the pull-out drawers, all full of art supplies. Because
Yes.
it's just how it worked over a couple of months.
Mhm.
And yeah, and even those little short things, if you want to go clean out your sink and you want to dance, you can put on some music and dance your way through the living room and into the kitchen.
Yep.
It's okay. And you can boogie while you're doing your dishes. You can put on that music and do your thing while you're cleaning. So there are always workarounds to invite the energy to move. Yeah. Cool. Okay. Shall we meditate? All right. So if you have not muted yourself, please do so. So that, and I yet again turned anyway, well, hopefully the phone will stay silent and we'll get going here. All right. Next week, we'll do some more show and tell about whatever we've come up with this week. So it'll be fun. Here we go. Bring your attention to your breath and relax. Allow your breath to be slow and deep. Feel yourself settle down on the surface beneath you. And find that little still point, that little pause between in breath and out breath. Rising up on your inhale, touch the still point. And drifting down on your exhale, touch the still point at the bottom. Just float, rising up and drifting down, relaxed, flowing, feeling your body soften a little more with every exhale. You relax your belly. Your shoulders let go and fall away from your ears. You relax your jaw. And as you float on the breath, your mind quiets, your thoughts still, and images begin rising around you. And you find yourself standing at a door that you know is a door to the basement. It's a place you rarely go. And you're not even sure why. But you don't like to go to the basement. But right now, in this moment, you feel brave. And you feel curious. And you just want to know what's down there. What on earth have you stored down there that you have forgotten? And you put your hand on that doorknob, and the door opens easily. A cool breeze blows up from the basement as you open the door. And you look down, and it's not even dark down there. You're a bit surprised. Your thoughts about that basement were much different than the way it looks. And you go down the steps, which has a nice handrail. And you pull on the overhead light. And you just look around. There are shelves. There's a trunk that's locked, has a big padlock on it. And there's a table with some little boxes. And you just look around and think, well, it's not the dank, dirty, cobweb-ridden place I thought it was. And you're drawn to that locked treasure chest looking item. And you see, interestingly enough, that there's a little chain dangling from the lock that has the key. So you put the key in and turn it, and that lock pops open. And you have just a moment of hesitation, but then you open up the lid and you see things in there kind of sparkling and interesting, and each one calls forth a memory. And they're all different kinds of things. There's a fork with a bent tine and an old sock and a watch you used to have and a little stuffed animal and a book or two, all kinds of things. But each one takes you to a moment, to an emotion, to a thought, to an energy that you wanted to forget. But instead of forgetting, you reach in now and take out an armful of those things. And right next to that trunk is a basket, and you drop that armful of stuff into a basket and root through it with curiosity. And as you do, as you let yourself be with those treasures, they begin to shift, to transform. The fork becomes shiny and new, and the tying straight and perfect. The cover on the book no longer tattered and old, but fresh and brightly colored. It's you. It's your attention. It's your acceptance that changes them. And you take that basket by the handle and you set it on the stairs to bring up for when you go back up. And your attention is now pulled over to the table where a number of little boxes sit. And one by one, you begin opening those little boxes, taking off the lids. And you find such interesting things. A little poem you once wrote, something you colored in as a child, a song you once sang rings out when you open the box. Another box you open shows a little hologram of you doing something, and you watch, and you're being creative. And box after box you open and you smile and you feel joy, and you just invite all of these things back into your life. And you begin to feel as if someone is standing behind you, not in a scary way, but in a warm and kindly way. And you turn and see a beautiful, glowing woman dressed in long, flowing robes. She's smiling. She has a symbol that she's wearing around her neck as a necklace. And you look at it and you understand her to be the muse, your muse. And she puts her hand on your shoulder and says, I've missed you. Thank you for welcoming me back. And she says, all you need to do is leave the lids off. All that energy is yours, always has been, always will be. But leaving them open, that's what lets you access all the creativity you have. Come, she says, I'll walk you back upstairs. And you two turn and walk towards the stairs, and she picks up your basket of treasures by the handle and hands them to you. All those little dark bits. She gazes in there and says, they're beautiful. And this is yet another way to be creative, you know. And you nod, noticing for the first time that you feel warm and friendly towards this basket full of stuff. And you can hear the steps creak as the two of you go up. I'll make us some tea or hot chocolate or coffee, you say. Oh, I've got this, the muse says. And she pulls from the folds of her robe a long, narrow flask. And it's filled with a beautiful amber liquid. And you pull down two of your favorite glasses, and she pours a good measure into each. And you go sit someplace with a lovely view. Your basket of treasures at your feet, the basement door still wide open. And you click glasses with your muse and drink down the glorious, glowing amber liquid. And you feel that energy flow through your body. You feel warm. You feel loved. you feel joy. And she nods at you and says, rest now. And you close your eyes and feel full of possibility and light. And you breathe, breath by breath. You return slowly, effortlessly back to the moment, flowing into your body, returning to the room in which you rest. And on the next breath, you allow your eyes to open. Welcome back.
That was wonderful. Thank you. Love that.
You're welcome. The kitty was scrambling to get on me every time I meditate, no matter where I am in the house. She finds she has to be on me. So I'm like, oh, I had to get her up here without making the minimal amount of sound. But she's purring now, so she's adding her energy to the mix. It's a good thing. Well, all right. Have fun this week. Enjoy yourself. And of course, I will move this to YouTube so you can continue to have access to the video. And yeah, well, here I am signing off. So grateful to have you here today. And thank you for walking between the worlds with me. Have fun and carry on.
Thank you, Reva.
You're
Bye.
very welcome.
Bye, everyone.
Bye-bye.
Good
Bye.
day. Stay warm.
Oh, yes.